Good evening. Welcome to finally the Japan video where I will be talking a bit about our Japan trip and going through photos which mostly Anna took. For the occasion, I thought I would turn the camera on. I'm gonna try and pretend it's not there because I really don't really know what to do with my hands because I'm not holding a controller to play a game. Also, excuse me for looking like an absolute ghost. I turned down the brightness on my monitor to 0 because this is, where I'm showing you the photos is an online gallery, like how my wife always makes online galleries for her wedding couples as a wedding photographer. And yeah, it's just a white background and there's no way to turn it to dark mode or anything because it's just part of that website. So hopefully I will have figured out a way to make the background black instead of white. Maybe even just with some kind of simple color overlay. Let me open my notes, because I did have to make a few notes just for the most important things so I don't forget to talk about those. So we left on the 18th of January this year. We had to get up around 4 a.m. I think, maybe 3-ish, in order to leave around 6 in the morning, because our flight was at 10 in Amsterdam Schiphol airport, which is 2 hours and a half by car from where we live. So for context, the shrimp is our travel shrimp. It's a Jellycat plushie we bought in Amsterdam, incidentally, affectionately named Sheldon. I doubt that was the plan when we bought him, but he kind of became our travel shrimp. We took him to Thailand, London, Japan. Now we haven't been on many trips since we bought him, but yeah, any holiday destination we take him. So this was the plane from Schiphol to Frankfurt. Me with long hair. As you can probably tell, I got rid of most of it. I grew it out for almost a year, I want to say. I think my last haircut was in January, maybe March last year, and I was growing it out ever since. But maybe 2 weeks ago or so, I shaved it all off because it was just too stimulating in a bad way. Maybe it's an autistic thing. I don't think it's just an autistic thing, but yeah, it was just getting in my face all the time, in my mouth, and it wasn't long enough in the front that I could tie it in a ponytail, because then the front would still be loose. Anyway, that's me with long hair and my wife, Anna. This is flying over the Netherlands. I wish I could say which city, but I honestly don't know. More Sheldon, more not Amsterdam, more Netherlands. Pretty clouds, although not that interesting clouds. I didn't really prepare for this, I just went through the photos very quickly to make sure I wouldn't forget to mention certain things, but It's not like I planned this all out. And this, yeah, I don't know why we don't have any photos from Frankfurt. Or from the plane, for that matter. Because this is already Tokyo. I want to say the flight from Amsterdam to Frankfurt was like an hour, maybe. Probably a bit more, an hour 20-ish. Frankfurt to Tokyo was, again, I have to kind of guess, but I think like 12 hours. And then was one more flight from Tokyo to Osaka, which was, again, another hour or so. So this is our first experience in Japan. Of course, Gojira. This is at our gate, waiting for the flight to Osaka. Probably already breaking several unspoken social rules, but no one said anything. I'm sure a few people saw it. Boarding the plane. About to take off. And these will be several photos of Tokyo. It doesn't really do it justice. Like none of the aerial photos really do justice to how big Tokyo really is, because this is like, it's Tokyo as far as the eye can see, literally. And there is Mount Fuji. The first of two sightings of the mountain, because there will be more on the way from Kyoto to Tokyo in the bullet train. We were very fortunate with the clear weather. I think that's probably also due to the fact that it was winter still. So it was less foggy and humid. And it was fortunate that we sat on the right side of the vehicle on both trips. Now on the plane, sitting on the right, and in the train we were on the left, also on the right side. On the correct side, rather. The good side. To be clear, all these photos are photos my wife took, because I took like 10 photos in the entire stay. But these are all taken with her Galaxy S22 Ultra, I think, which has a very nice camera and a very good zoom. This is not an ad for Samsung phones. Oh yeah, a lot of Fuji photos. Not sure what this is or where this is, just a random view. Probably during a bank, because I don't think you would be able to look down if the plane wasn't very sideways. If you notice, there's a small heart-shaped water body. That's not why she took the picture, it's just a happy accident. This looks like it's coming up on Osaka, but it's too high up to be Osaka, so I don't know which city this would be. This might be Osaka already. Maybe Osaka / Nara. It's hard to say. But this is definitely Osaka. very low to the buildings. You can see the shadow on the building in the middle. My wife's, I'm not gonna keep calling her my wife, Anna's first experience with Japanese toilets. Mine was in Tokyo airport, incidentally. Wasn't super special, but it did have the fancy toilets with all the buttons, which I did not use right away. Yeah, for an airport bathroom, this is very clean and almost cozy. Maybe the most striking thing about Japan in general is how cartoonified everything is, from like all the billboards and ads, just packaging of grocery products or any kind of product, really. It's all very, I want to say childish, but you know, very cartoony. The first money exchange with a rather creepy face, dare I say. Definitely not the best place to exchange money, because the rate is much worse than in convenience stores. Sheldon on gacha machines, which are literally everywhere. Interesting vending machine with a fake skull and like slime things. First time taking the train, which was generally very pleasant. Like, we both really loved the public transport in Japan, at least in the cities we visited. But I assume it's similar across the country, like all the very orderly way of queuing up in front of the doors. But I wasn't expecting there to be gates on all the platforms. So I think it's been a while by now, but I don't think there was any train or subway station or platform that didn't have the gates. Maybe there was. A relatively empty train, but it's really pleasant. Well, when it's not super crowded, it's very pleasant, very quiet. And even when it is very crowded, it's still quiet. I hope I said that right. Even when it is a very full train, it's still not the worst. This is the view from our hotel in Osaka. And the same during the day. A quiet street. The first Don Quixote we saw there, which is one of the few things I knew about before we went there. I mean, before we went to Japan. I had heard stories of Don Quixote and all the random stuff you can find there. This was a pretty small one, actually. Yeah, because of the exchange rate, we ended up spending several tens of thousands of yen during our stay, which is probably like a few hundred euros, probably more, but you know, I think 1,000 yen is €5. So yeah, not my best. There will be a lot of plushies in these photos generally because Anna started collecting jellycats. We had Sheldon for a few years now, but she really started collecting them, and she was hoping to find some Japan exclusive ones there, but we didn't really. Cute sloth. I forget the name of this store, but it will show up later. It was a toy store in Osaka Umeda Station, which is kind of like a mall. We ended up buying the second one from the left with the first one with the nori loincloth kind of thing. Because that's the thing we quickly discovered about plushies and toys in Japan, is that it's very random. I'm sure it's not like this with all toys, but there were several that Anna wanted to buy, but they were packaged so you couldn't see which one was inside. And she wanted specific ones. But yeah, that's the thing with those toys, that you buy them blindly and hope you're getting the ones you don't have yet. I really don't know my kana well enough. Ka something hei, I guess kana hei no omise, I don't know. I did brush up on my kana a few months before we left, but the few weeks, I mean, by the time we were about to go, the few weeks before the departure, I didn't do anything. We planned the trip in July or August last year, so then I was really refreshing my kana and some kanji, but the month before or so I wasn't doing anything, so I kind of forgot most of it. Alpaca plushie keychain. Yeah, pretty manhole covers. Random blue thing. Our first time eating out, really. I think this was... They were advertised mostly as a gyoza shop, or not shop, restaurant, with that onigiri she bought in the toy shop. Very nice place. I'm sure I had some kind of gyoza, but I forget which ones. Probably messing with Google Translate. The only other people there, this was like early afternoon, I think. Nice wall art. Crepes. This was another minor culture shock. That all the food, like if there's a place that sells food, very often it's displayed like this. And I can't imagine these are all real. If they are real, I hope they're replaced twice a day or more. Because they all looked very pristine. So either they were replaced very often or just some plastified versions. I don't know. Don't even know what this was, but it probably just looked cute. Various kinds of sugar. And I mean, we were visiting friends last weekend in Amsterdam, and only then did Anna realize that the green one on the right, the melon sugar, that was from the melon pan, or however you pronounce it. Like the kind of pastry thing that has nothing to do with melons. We don't really know why it's called melon pan, melon bread. This was in the hotel. We had the offer for a free kimono photo shoot, which Anna wanted to do anyway at some point during the trip. So we thought we might as well do it in the hotel. Even though the quality of the pictures is kind of terrible. Gift horse and everything. Her face is not in focus. Some of these were taken with her phone. I think these two, because they look marginally better, if a bit dark. Yours truly. I don't know if this is also technically called a kimono. But yeah. And with a rather short fake katana. Very much out of my comfort zone, but you know, you have to do it. I think we both look pretty good in this garb. The sword wasn't strictly necessary in my opinion, but you go along with it, I suppose. Stupid posing, which doesn't look nearly as heroic as I thought it would. This was Anna's idea, not mine. Maybe the best photo of the whole shoot. These, I'm told, were not a success. Smoked squid and some kind of shrimp jerky. I didn't try these. Anna just likes squid and she likes shrimp, so she was curious. But they were not good. Osaka Station. This is on the way to Osaka Castle. It's a big park with this moat and then the island with the castle and a temple and some other more traditional buildings. There was a small grocery store kind of thing at the entrance. We bought some onigiri among other things, some drinks, and just had lunch on a bench with this view. Nice reflection. Sheldon. Anytime there's a photo like this, I get really anxious because I worry that he will fall off. If it's on a bridge or something, or on a fence at a height, I get a bit nervous. I think this was our first bigger tourist attraction. The inner gate and the castle. You can do this for free, but going inside the castle is paid, which we did not do. And you can go to the upper level where the fences are. A lot of photos of basically the same thing. Looking just a bit bored. Sheldon again. It was an interesting contrast between the skyscrapers and then in the middle of that, this castle. But it seems to be like that for most temples. Like, we didn't visit that many. But we did at least one that I remember in Kyoto as well. And we were kind of planning to visit, I forget the name of the temple, but the big one in Asakusa. With my man bag, which I bought specifically for this trip. My sister gave us a coupon for I don't know if it exists around the world, but AS Adventure, like a camping, sports, outdoor kind of shop chain, where I bought this purse, which proved to be very handy because I didn't really want to carry my backpack around all the time with nothing in it, so this was very convenient. I guess I've reached an age where convenience wins over most other things. Creep. Different kind of creep. Not so creep. We both don't look great. I'll probably say this a few more times throughout the video, but the pictures don't really do it justice. Just how big it was. My classic, I don't want to take photos look. Or more likely, here she was asking for a kiss, and then I protested, but obliged. Not my best look, not my worst. My hag tooth. Yep. I feel like I should apologize for some of these photos. I don't know when they will be coming. Small shrine. No idea whom or what it was for. But kind of interesting with the binkies. No, not binkies. I don't know what you call these. In Flemish or French, I guess, bavette. Acting all photographer-like. I kind of like this photo. Osaka pigeon. This is the shrine just across from the castle. When you had these prayers tied to the rope. Very cute. Now I'm very conscious of calling temples shrines and vice versa. But I'd say this was this was a shrine. Sometimes it's not that easy to tell. Derpy looking horse. But I think it was the year of the horse. Which is coincidental because I'm like my birth year is also year of the horse. I forget which one Anna is, but I think it's either something much cooler sounding or something much less cool sounding. Not entirely sure what these are. More prayers. I probably wouldn't even be able to tie it without accidentally tearing it in half. Prayers, but in a different form. On these wooden cards. I feel very uninformed, like I was admiring all of this, but I was never really like doing any kind of research or reading. Anna did get one, maybe two of these omamori charms. And she took a picture of the instructions because she wouldn't be able to explain it properly to anyone else. But yeah, so it reads, these small fabric pouches contain a sacred blessing or prayer written on a piece of paper or wood, sealed inside by the shrine priests, and it should never be opened to see what is inside. This is on the other side of the park. As we saw from that wall with the pigeon. We saw there was like a tree garden where we hoped to see some early sakura blossoms. We did not, but there were plums in bloom. Pretty sure these are plums. I'm sure you could see it from the earlier pictures, but I forgot to mention it then. But it was a very big garden. Tsukushiko. I don't know what it means. But you could use Google Translate on the signs with your camera. I'm very glad I tried to use Google Translate that way, because I don't think I knew. But not long before not long before we left, I did some research and everyone said that it works very well. So I had to try it. Just install Google Translate and download the Japan pack. I felt a bit old using it because it was like I was living in the future. I never know what to do with my hands in photos. Blossoms with the castle in the background. I hope I don't look too bored. It's just my resting face. It's not my natural smile. But the front entrance of the castle, which we didn't know was the front entrance. I'm sorry. Funny tourist train. Train ticket machines where we had to top up our Ikoka cards. It's a bit intimidating at first because, it's very different from how public transport works here. In Belgium, that is. But it's very simple, and it's maybe like the most significant souvenir I have is my card. Apart from the tattoo, maybe, but the most significant physical souvenir. You can return them to get your deposit back, but the deposit is like 500 yen, so if I'm counting correctly, €2.50. So I wanted to keep it. A store full of gacha machines. Again, demonstrating how omnipresent these are. And this is something you really don't see, well, anywhere that we've been to ever. There's all these machines filled with trinkets. Me looking very impressed because I have the special talent to always be in the way of where Anna wanted to take photos. And so I felt like a bit sulky. I forget where this is exactly. Except Osaka. Karaoke bar. We didn't do karaoke. This was in some, I want to say, second-hand shop. Fortune telling in English is available now. The same manhole cover as before, just colored. I was wondering if this is colored with like I don't know what you call it in English, chalk crayons, or if it's actually painted. Kind of a derpy daruma. This is in a Taiwanese restaurant, a dumpling restaurant. These are Anna's soup dumplings. I forget the flavor, but I think she said something with truffle. Because of course, when you think Taiwanese soup dumplings, truffle is your first thing that comes to mind. Mine were also really good, but there's no photo. But they were a mix of two black ones with beef and black pepper, which were by far the best. And I think two with chicken maybe, and one crab or shrimp. All really good. This was outside that restaurant where they cooked them all. Not even sure what this is. Some French wine bar. McDonald's sign. We did not eat at McDonald's even once. Socks with a split, so you can wear the traditional sandals or flip-flops. I'm assuming she took this photo just for the peanut guy. This was more of a traditional area of town. I hope it's very obvious how clean it is everywhere. It's hard to say if this is because there's just a culture of not littering, or if because the city spends a lot of time cleaning the streets. But even if they did, you would still see some litter, which we didn't, so it's safe to assume it's a cultural thing that you just don't do it to begin with. Some weird mural. A different kind of manhole cover. Most of these photos are very random. It's kind of hard to talk about them. They're all just stuff. Another Godzilla. A pretty building. Safe to say it's a seafood restaurant, but again, who knows? Right, and this was another one of the bigger things, like not just walking around taking photos. We did the sushi making. It's a good sign when they have a lot of interesting souvenirs. I think I got a t-shirt, and Anna got, like, they sell a small award, like a sushi master, and I think also a set of pins, buttons. This was our prop nigiri. Because there was some, like, during the explanation of how to make nigiri, we used the fake one just to practice. Some kind of fish, I forget which ones, but I want to say definitely salmon in the middle, shrimp. I always forget the white fish, even though I really like it. Maybe sea bass or sea bream. And I want to say tuna, but it doesn't really look like tuna. And then some sesame seeds, some pollock roe. I think the fake crab is kanikama. The yellow stuff, I forget the name. Some wasabi, some chili, cucumber. So you get your cling film with a sheet of nori, and you very precisely, or as precisely as you can, which in my case is not very precisely, spread, or I think this was Anna's thing, so mine was probably nicer. Yeah, you spread your rice and your, well, whatever you want, but in this case the sesame seeds and the roe. I honestly forget most of the other steps, but they said they would send it by email as well, the instructions. But it looks like you put more cling film on top, and then you flip it over. Yeah, flip it over, take off the bottom cling film, put your fillings, and then you have to, like, in a few different steps, roll it very tightly. I don't know what this face is, But they came out pretty good. We have made sushi before once, at least I did. I don't know if Anna ever made it more often in the past. But this was my second time ever, and the first proper one. The other couple was from LA. Nice people. I think there was supposed to be another couple, maybe not. And then, yeah, this is to make the nigiri, where you squeeze like the rice clump, for lack of a better term. These were taken by I wanted to say the guide, but the instructor, whose name I forget. I want to say Sochi. And you spread the rice, or no. Wait, you make your rice ball. Then I think it's been too long after. There was a flip involved, I don't remember. It looks like you put the fish in your hand, then a little dab of wasabi, then the rice on top, and then you flip and shape it somewhat. And these were Anna's final results. Not too shabby. Sochi said he liked them, so I feel like it's really not Sochi. Now I'm losing my mind what his name really was. I thought there was a K in there somewhere. He really liked hers, so this was a really cool guy. Very Japanese in his teaching skills or teaching method. But yeah, this was a really nice experience. She always looks extra happy if there's sushi involved. Sheldon. A few more selfies, or one more selfie. Me standing like an idiot. And I'm very red in my face. Labubu thing. Interesting candy shop where Anna did get told off by one of the staff because I think she was, they were very specific in their instructions as to how you're supposed to take any candy. Of course, always use the scoops or tongs, and always wear gloves. I don't even know. A leopard in a pink leopard suit. Apologies for vegetarians among you, but this was one of the best meals of the trip. Wagyu. I'm getting paranoid about my pronunciation, but Wagyu beef, which, as we were taught during the sushi class, just means Japanese beef. As in, Wagyu means Japanese beef, so Wagyu beef is Japanese beef. Live and learn. But this, yeah, I had to remind myself of the specific name. I mean the name of the specific cut of beef, but this was uchimomo. Relatively cheap compared to what you would pay for something like this locally. I mean, where we live. And probably anywhere else in the world. I wish I could remember how much it cost, because it really wasn't that much. Yeah, so it was like a bar situation where you had your own personal grill, and the chef just cut the meat, seasoned it, and then gave you the plate so you could, or you had to fry it yourself. Very simple, but really good. Yeah, just neon signs, an indoor temple. It was kind of interesting. A Kirby themed train. Which of course deserved a million photos. This was kind of weird. We didn't try this, but it's like, as you would call him in Dutch, mannekepis. Little pea man, however you would translate it. Yep, supposedly Belgian waffles. Here was some traffic incident where a bunch of police cars showed up with quite some bravado and basically just dragged a lady out of her car. No idea why. The best name for this kind of candy. Manhole cover. This must be on the train to Kyoto, I assume. Oh no, not really. Alright, yeah, that was the train to Nara. So here we are in Nara, I assume, with a very in-theme train. Here we are, getting out of the subway in Nara. I think I want to speed up the pace just a bit, because this will take 3 hours, which was not really the plan. This is the famous deer park, where the deer bow for you if you give them a cookie, or they bow expecting a cookie, which is a bit sad. That's how it goes, I guess. I'm not sure why the suspicious look. Anna had a minor incident here where she bought a pack of cookies from one of the vendors. And of course, as soon as the deer realized there was food to be had, they all mobbed her, essentially. And like, started nipping at her scarf and her coat. So she just kind of got rid of the cookies as fast as she could so we could escape. Can't help but have mixed feelings about places like this, but you know, they looked in good enough shape. Dear prankster. This is a good photo. Very fuzzy butt deer. Seven views of the Nara Buddhist Sculpture Hall. I think we found two. I mean, we didn't look for all of them. We came across two. This deer really, really liked Anna. Maybe a bit too much. And needless to say, many of the passers-by thought this was very amusing. Some bao bun with beef, I think. This is the big gate. I forget the name of the gate. And I forget the name of any specific attraction we visited. But the gate to the Daibutsuden temple. It's not the name of the temple, but it's the name of the Buddha, and that's all I remember. It was getting a bit cold, and this deer obviously had enough. Hard to say what he had enough of, but it was a lot. Very hungry, or very desperate, or just kind of sad. Yeah, this was a very crowded place. It doesn't look as crowded as it was, but there were a lot of tourists and school children, which did make it a bit harder to enjoy the place, but there's not much you can do. So we came across the entrance to the temple and we wanted to go in. I mean, we sort of wanted to go in. Me more than Anna. But then we saw they only took cash and we didn't have any, so we had to go back to... I don't even know where. But either to an ATM or some shop where we could exchange money. It's one of those coin flatten machines. Apparently some kind of cookie. It's hard to say what texture it would be, if it's like soft and squishy or crunchy like a fortune cookie. Divine Deer Water. Yeah, that was the big temple. If not the biggest, then definitely one of the biggest wooden structures in Japan. It's very impressive. A lady lighting incense. This was not the Buddha. The Buddha is on the right. And again, the photos don't do the size justice. It looks like it's about as tall as I am, like 2 meters tall. I don't really know exactly how tall it is, but I mean, you can see for scale. It's a very imposing place. Or maybe not imposing, it's the wrong word, but you almost feel there's some stuff going on in there, which is very much dampened by all the people. And that's the kind of place you kind of wish that silence was enforced more. This is a miniature of the place, of the whole temple. Model of the Great Buddha Hall, rebuilt 800 years ago, size 1:50. Scary sculpture. A sleepy deer. I promise he's not dead. I think this was on the way back to the station. Or, you know, in the street. Anyway. Looking for a specific place to eat. The preferred Belgian chocolates. Not real geisha or maiko. Deer themed manhole cover. Kyoto onigiri plushie kind of thing. Nara mochi. I had my suspicions, but it was confirmed that neither of us like mochi very much. It's an interesting texture, but they always taste kind of bland. Which maybe they're supposed to, but you know. So this is in... I forget the name of the place, but supposedly a very good okonomiyaki place, family restaurant. With photos from tourists. Takomi, that was the name. Takeout, okay. Oh, right, we have to get the souvenir set menu. to get a photo. I think the paper at the bottom, but we didn't. We just had sake and okonomiyaki, which we were told by Sochi, the sushi making teacher. He told us Osaka was famous for okonomiyaki, so if we were going to eat it, we should eat it there. Even though Nara is not technically Osaka, it's kind of close, so we figured it's good enough. But this was very delicious. It's like a omelette kind of thing with vegetables, and I'm pretty sure Anna had the one with squid. I forget which one I had. I think pork. Yeah. Takomi. They did have cute souvenirs, but we didn't buy any. This was... I don't even know where she found this, but probably just on Google. But it was like a flan kind of dessert with chocolate. Probably a lot of gelatin. And it wobbled in a very amusing way. Me carrying suitcases. This must have been on the way from the hotel in Osaka to the train to Kyoto. Now we're in Kyoto, only the second city of the three. So forgive me for maybe skipping several photos, but some of these are really not that interesting. Or they don't really mean much to anyone except us. Kyoto Tower with an observation deck, which we didn't go to. We didn't do any observation deck, not even in Tokyo. Not because we didn't want to, but either they were kind of out of the way or a bit too expensive for what we were willing to spend, or there was a long wait. On the way to the hotel. Yeah, overall Kyoto was much more pleasant than Osaka. Osaka was very nice, but Kyoto just had a smaller feel to it, especially this neighborhood where our hotel was. It was all very cozy and more traditional and very quiet. Hotel Glad One. The room, not very big, but big enough. Nice bathroom. This was like the more western of the three bathrooms. The one in Osaka and the one in Tokyo, they were all the raised kind of bathroom where you step up into the bathroom and the whole room is pretty much just one piece of plastic. Like a wet room situation with a very small bathtub, which I could not stand up in. I doubt Anna was able to stand up in it. So you basically just had to shower sitting down, which is maybe what you were supposed to do, but was not super comfortable. But this was the nicest bathroom, because I could actually stand up. Ramen. Must have been the first night there, in a very nice place, of which I don't remember the name. But yeah, as in many places, a bit strange to us, because it was kind of a more traditional looking place on the inside, but then you had a big ATM kind of touchscreen machine where you had to order, and then they brought the food. I mean, they brought the food to the table. And that reminds me of the first incident where I think it was the first night in Osaka. Anna had found a place to eat very close to the hotel, so we went to check it out. It was another pretty traditional family restaurant, and the only seats they had available were at the one low table. It's like on a raised platform, a big table where you had to sit in lotus position, or sit on the floor essentially, which was very awkward for me to get into position at. And I was told by my lovely wife that the owner, or she looked like the daughter in the family, was looking at me with a mixture of confusion and compassion. Because I was obviously struggling to not be awkward, but I couldn't really fit under the table with my legs. And I did find a somewhat natural position after a while, but it took a while. And it was kind of an awkward experience. But this place just had chairs, so that was good. With some eggs and chicken 3 ways. Bamboo, not bamboo shoots, I think. Are they shoots? Bamboo. Very delicious, but very big portion. Which I was not able to finish. This was the next morning, on the way to a place to have breakfast. Manhole cover, bicycle, palm trees, somewhat out of place. This was Anna's breakfast. Like a rice bowl with seafood. Very nice place as well. This is Fushimi Inari Taisha, which you might remember from the lush foil photography sims. The famous shrine with the many orange gates. A lot of food stands. This was I'd say by far the most crowded attraction we visited. To the point where it very much detracted from the experience, but again, there's not much you can do except go either very early in the morning or pretty late at night. Prayer cards. I kind of underestimated how long this would take. But I'm trying not to rush too much. Yeah, from this point it should look a bit familiar if you've seen the Lush Foil videos. Again, not knowing what to do with my hand. If you ignored all the tourists, it is a very cool place. Very unsharp. I apologize for the cursor that was probably in view the whole time. I dropped the ball. This looks like one of the photos we had to take in the game. A smaller shrine area. I still don't know what the small gates represent. I assume it's just, you know, the same as the big gates, except small. These were Westerners dressed in kimono. Obviously they had, obviously they got quite a few looks. Positive or negative, that's hard to say. I don't want to judge, but it was a bit cringy to see people like that. Then again, many people would say this video, or any video I make, is cringy, but yeah. This was a very interesting shrine with all the tiny fox statues. I don't think I saw any of these for sale, but I probably wasn't paying attention. More prayers. I didn't do the thing you're kind of supposed to do at shrines, like the clap, bow, clap thing and washing your hands. I felt a bit silly at the thought of it, even though I'm aware I was a bit disrespectful by not doing it. These are takoyaki, octopus balls. Probably the most traditional ones I've ever had, not necessarily the best ones I've ever had. But yeah, I'm a very self-aware eater, so eating something like that in public is just never going to be as nice as having it in a restaurant where no one can see you. And this looks like a subway sign or something for Gion Shio, the quote-unquote geisha district. But this is still in Fushimi Inari. Daruma chopsticks. Daruma cups. This must be Nishiki Market, I think. Still in Kyoto. More Daruma. Even more Daruma. Experience the unexpected. A quail egg surprise. Which I didn't know. Like, I didn't realize until Anna told me the other day when we were showing all these pictures to our friends. The couple who lives in Amsterdam. Yeah, so this is an octopus filled with an egg, apparently. Lots of food. Some more appealing looking than other. It's an interesting place, but it's not my ideal kind of environment by any means. It's very cramped and busy, pretty loud sometimes. Anna did buy something here, but I forget what it was called. I think the scallop with butter sauce. This. Oh, right, and squid on the stick. Octopus. I don't know how I missed that. A lot of pretty sushi. A tempura, fresh fried, please, okay. Kobe beef, which we didn't try. I'm pretty sure I don't even know the name. The thin sliced beef we had was not Kobe. A lot of sushi on display. Again, wondering if this is fake or just plastified or replaced very often, hopefully. A lot of tamago, which I don't like. It's kind of a shame because I like eggs generally, but any sushi with egg, like the tamago omelette kind of thing, I really don't like because it's cold. I don't even know what this is. Some kind of candy. Sake with gold leaf and pineapple. We went into this shop where they had this stuff. I don't even know what kind of store it was generally, but some kind of fancier souvenir shop, I guess. And a lady came up and offered us a taste of this sake. And of this sake, which is the same thing but with peach instead of pineapple. So we bought a bottle. mostly because it was pretty, but it was also pretty tasty. Kyoto cookies. More food. Cute mural. Yeah, and from here, and I had located on Google Maps a mall where there should be a store where there should be some jellycats for sale. I don't know what I'm doing with my face here. It's a Belgian beer restaurant. And randomly we saw that there was a cat cafe in that same mall where you could pay for half an hour with drinks included. It's a weird experience because you feel, or at least I felt very much like a foreigner in that place. Even though it wasn't very busy at all. Like, these are pretty much all the people that were there, but, you know, felt a bit out of place. But there were several cute cats. And this one, which we think was new, because it was like skulking in a corner, looking angry. Very majestic. The one on the fridge was up to stuff. And the one on the wall was also up to stuff. I don't even know what breed this is. I assume this is an English short hair, but I don't know my cat breeds very well. Munchkin. I'm sure at least a few of those were either, although they were a bit too small for Maine Coons, I think. Maybe more like ragdolls. Toe beans. Cute tiny door for cats. Cute mushrooms. This was kind of another awkward encounter because we were having trouble finding a place to eat that was open. And so we went in here. They didn't have room for us right away, so they asked us to wait outside. Then some other guests left, and we took that as a cue to go in again. And again, they kind of politely shooed us out until they asked us to come in. Yeah, this was Anna's eel nigiri. I think I just had salmon because I remember we checked the menu on Google, which had a lot of stuff that we were interested in, but none of it was on the menu at the restaurant until after we ordered. We realized that all that stuff was on the back of the menu. So I just had some grilled salmon or baked salmon, whatever, with nothing else because it was kind of expensive. It's amazing I haven't gotten any model jobs yet. It's one of the cloud candies from the candy shop in Osaka. Totoro garden decorations. We didn't buy any Totoro souvenirs, even though in the mall in Osaka where we went to that toy shop, there was another shop dedicated to Totoro. Probably other Ghibli films as well, but mainly Totoro. But even there, I didn't buy anything because I don't really consider myself a big enough fan of Ghibli. And I guess that's how I approach things. If I don't think I'm enough of a fan to deserve merch of a certain franchise, I don't buy it. This was on the way to Arashiyama bamboo forest. I don't know what the post did to me to deserve that kind of look from me. Onigiri stand with very nice marketing. The hedgehog. Random shrine-y statues. I don't know. And this is in the bamboo forest, which is pretty much just one path through it. But it's pretty impressive. Shrine, prayer things. Apologies for going a bit faster. I think there were warning signs for bears, but maybe that's only in certain seasons. The first snow, it did start snowing at some point in Kyoto, but it never, like, there was snow falling from the sky, but there was no snow on the floor until we got here. Awkward selfie. No, not even a selfie. Again, not knowing what to do with my left hand. Same old stuff. Very artsy. It's a pretty imposing place. Of course, people like to scratch their names into stuff even here. This gives a pretty good impression of how tall the trees were. Although it is with a fisheye, so there's a bit of optical deception. Some normal trees which look very out of place among all the bamboo. This is when it really started snowing. doesn't look like much in the photos, but it was snowing pretty hard. And here there were warning signs for monkeys, but there were no monkeys. Because just across the river there was an actual monkey park, which we didn't go to. But for a moment I had hopes that there would be monkeys here. I guess here you can see, or you get the best impression of the snow. Yeah, there's a sign. I did use Google Translate, but I forget what it says on the sign above the sign. We do both like snow, but it was getting pretty cold because I think I underdressed for the day. Down to the river. I'm having a moment where I realize how kind of surreal it is that we were there. I mean, it's a realization of two things. One, that this is, I don't even know how many, like 8,000 kilometers away. And second realization, that we were there. Mandatory Sheldon photo. This was at, I think the place was called Kiki. Some very British themed tea room where they sold various teas and scones and like menu sets with scones and tea and high tea and stuff. And also matcha soft serve, which was pretty good. Anna is not much of a fan of matcha. It sounded like a pun, but it wasn't intentional. I don't mind matcha, but I wouldn't go out of my way to get anything matcha flavored. This was the only kind of ice cream they had, and it looked cool in the photos. So, and this was some kind of eaten mess kind of thing, I think. This is the Kimono forest. I'm sure there were a few photos earlier, but I forget where. Probably at Fushimi Inari. But this is all kimono fabric on display. Some of these is pretty cool, like kimono fabric with skeletons. Dragon Ball. Some locals. Hard to say if there was some kind of occasion, because there were quite a few younger people in fancy garments. Maybe there was some school thing, or like whatever the equivalent of a communion is. Graduation, maybe, I don't know. Very cute souvenirs. These are all like various vegetables and food items in fabric. Part of me regrets not getting anything from here. But, I'm one of those boring people who, in that moment, just thinks like, this doesn't serve any purpose and it'll just end up in a box somewhere. Same thing with sushi. I'm not sure what this is supposed to be. More sushi. Some geisha themed things. And this, I don't know the name in English, but I've seen it before, this bear. But this was all, again, food on display at impossible angles. Which does make me think it's plastified in some way. Or just plastic. I'm not sure if I'm reading it correctly, but I think it says Risakuma. I don't know. And this was the entrance to the Golden Temple. I want to say Kinkaku-ji Temple. The Golden Temple in Kyoto. Which is this. Very impressive. And not that crowded, maybe because it was, I think, around 5 or 6 we were there. We took the bus here from, doesn't even matter, but yeah, we took the bus twice during our whole stay. And it was to this temple and from this temple to the restaurant we went to. I don't really recommend taking the bus. Unless it's for a very short ride, but we were on there for like half an hour or more. Very packed. And with kind of a weird system, or not weird, but weird to us, where you have to get on at the back, which is the middle of the bus, and tap in there sometimes, and get off at the front and tap out with your card. So you always have to pass through the whole bus, which does not seem very smart. Not sure what this second building was, but maybe some kind of monastery. Again, I didn't read many of the signs. You had to throw coins into the well in the middle for good luck, apparently. Yeah, this was the bus we just got off, and then we saw all the people who had to get on. This is in Gion, Shio, the geisha district. It was very quiet, maybe because of the time of day. It was already pretty dark when we got there. Yeah, looks kind of sinister at night. I don't know if this was one of those streets, but several streets had signs at the beginning of them saying that tourists were not allowed, foreigners were not allowed, because that's where the geisha and the maiko live and are trained as geisha. And they don't want people disturbing their peace naturally. This was also off limits. I think looked like a place where there might be shows or something, some kind of event. Or maybe it's just a house. Who knows? Or daruma and souvenirs. And this place, Sushi Sha, is where we had by far the best sushi of our lives so far. A very small place with pretty much just a bar where they make the sushi right in front of you. This was just a starter, complimentary, with octopus. These were mine, but I forget what they were. Maybe striped jack on the left, salmon, the one in the middle I have no idea, and then tuna, and fatty tuna. These were anas, but I forget what they were. I think something with eel, unagi. These were also anas, I do believe. This was one of the main chefs. I don't know if they had a ranking, but there were two chefs and then one guy who was serving the drinks, taking orders, and also preparing some of the food. Yeah, this was a very cool experience to watch them prepare sushi the way it's supposed to be prepared. Very precise and delicate and fast and like effortless. And he had a funny laugh. Right, I don't think there was a photo of this at the sushi making thing, but there was the trophy she bought. And these were mine, I think. I'm not sure why I would get two. Maybe one was for Anna and one for me. But I did have the salmon roe, which I ate rather clumsily to my shame. Some of the eggs fell off on the table, and I think at least one on the floor, which was kind of awkward, and I hope they didn't notice, but I'm sure they did. I don't think the salmon eggs is even something you can get where we live. But yeah, it's one of those things I had to try, even if I wouldn't necessarily like it. But I did like it. on the way back to the hotel. The next morning, on the way from the hotel to the station, fruit and cheese sandwiches, which is pretty disgusting to me. I'm not a big fruit lover anyway. And no, the sandwiches were not very good, the ones I had. On the way to the bullet train, Shinkansen, and on the Shinkansen with a lot more snow. Looks kind of like a plane, but it's a train. Pretty mountains. And again, Mount Fuji. Which we did not visit, was just admiring from a distance. The front or back of the Shinkansen. It's a pretty impressive vehicle. Cow lockers. This is, I think, our first night in Tokyo. We had planned to get tattoos at some point in Japan, most likely in Tokyo. I looked up a few places, but nothing specific. And yep, she found one not too far from our hotel. And since we didn't have anything else to do that night, we decided to get them then. I don't know what I'm doing with my face. Once again. In some photos I really like my hair. In most of them I don't really. So. Yeah, this was mine. Don't mind the alpaca outline tattoo. It looks very bad. It didn't look this bad after I got it, but I think I've had it for 3 years-ish. No, 2 years, a bit more. And yeah, the line is just very uneven. I'm thinking to have something done to it at some point, but I'm not sure what. So yeah, little onigiri. Just after. And Anna just the same design, but she had a little heart and the shading thing on the nori. I think perhaps this was on the way to Lost Bar. And this is Shibuya Crossing, Scramble Crossing. With the go-kart tourist thing, which we didn't do because I don't have a death wish. Now, this was very Well, it wasn't too bad, but it was still pretty overwhelming. Both Tokyo in general and the crossing specifically. General life lesson. Lots of neon signs. I feel like it looks less busy in the photos because no one's moving, but you know, it's very much like an ant hill. Or ant nest. Do ants make hills? I don't know. Mega Don Quixote. Or Mega Donkey. In the elevator to Lost Bar, that was maybe the only thing I really wanted to do in Tokyo. In case you don't know, the YouTuber Chris Broad from the Abroad in Japan channel, he opened a bar in Tokyo a few years ago, I think, in Shibuya, called Lost Bar. They only do cocktails and a cheese board, which I kind of wish I would have tried, but I didn't. Yeah, so I was expecting there to be a lot of influencer people and, like, you know, hipsters, but we went there very shortly after they opened that night, so there was even no one there, as in maybe we were the first people there that night, but it didn't get too busy. Like, they only let in as many people as there are tables free, so it's never super crowded. And they have very good cocktails. This was the Go F Yourself, which, if I remember correctly, is pretty much just a margarita with ginger, but still very good. And from what I've read, not too expensive. It seems, I think it's common to have a table charge in any bar in Tokyo, but here they didn't, and the drinks themselves weren't crazy expensive either, just as you would expect in a more, I don't want to say wealthy, but a more affluent part of Tokyo, where you can expect everything to be more expensive anyway. She was very nice. I forget her name. She was our server. The cat did not get drunk. This one was also very good, but I forget the name. Something with a P and a J, maybe. It was a vodka-based drink with grapefruit and a candy garnish. Anna taking photos of her drink on the floor because the floor was pretty. And this is the door, believe it or not. I was confused because we arrived on the floor and there didn't seem to be a bar there, but then Anna noticed this gacha machine and figured out that you're supposed to slide it to the right. You can see the rails on the floor. So the whole thing moves as a door. And yes, I did get a gacha thing. In fact, well, one item from the bubble is downstairs, but it had this, it's mirrored of course, this magnet. I should have thought to unmirror the webcam, but it's too late at this point. Yeah, we were a bit tipsy after the drinks and we wanted to go into the Mega Donki. But Anna made the wise decision to come back the next day because a lot of unnecessary money would have been spent if we would have stayed while intoxicated. Not my best. Again, not my best. Arguably even worse. Sheldon on a pink train, purple rather. This was in a more residential area of Tokyo with some nice shops. Looking for jelly cats for Anna, which was a very disappointing endeavor, as was the whole vacation in that regard, because I don't think she found any, or at least not any that she really wanted. Takeshita Street. Micro Pig Bar, which we did not go into. Maybe we should have, but you know. But instead we found, or I should say Anna found this place. From the street it looked a bit sketchy, but we decided to check it out anyway, and it was maybe one of the highlights, definitely one of the highlights of Tokyo. But just an indoor petting zoo essentially, with meerkats. This one has mischief on his mind. Meerkats, hedgehogs. The bigger ones required gloves. There were also a few small hedgehogs, but they were occupied. Tiny vampire teeth. Again, it's a bit mixed because, you know, they're not living their best life there, probably, but they are safe. They looked like they were being well taken care of. But we know it's not ideal. Ferrets as well. They feel pretty weird, like just because of their length. I have owned rats in the past, and it's kind of similar to that, but you know, just because they're so long and slinky. A tired ferret. And of course, there was a capybara. Maybe that was the saddest one, because I don't know if capybaras are solitary creatures, but he was by himself there. And they were all hard surfaces, which doesn't seem ideal, and just like the small bathtub. It's a bit questionable. And of course there was a fennec fox, because why not? He did seem like happiest of all the animals there, because he was out and about, not in a cage. Fennec fox male, birthday, I assume March 7th, 2017. A swaddled meerkat, in case you've never seen one before. More crepes. Hello Kitty store. Salmon plushie keychain. Obviously. $110,000 for this, which I think is €550. I might be very wrong, but Hello Kitty sushi hairpins. We did not buy anything there. Rainbow cheese in dough of some sort. Anna was curious enough to buy one, but she wouldn't have been able to finish it, and I didn't want to try it, so we did not get one. E.T. And we're back at the Mega Donki. We did buy this. It's not that great. I think Anna described it as a cotton pad wrapped in white chocolate. All the Kit Kat flavors, including wasabi. The elegant taste of sake, great combination with Kit Kat. Enjoy the rich, satisfying flavor of sake. Purple potato, sweet potato. We didn't try this, even though I was kind of curious, but they had ice cream, like purple sweet potato ice cream. I think that was at Fushimi Inari, which we also didn't try because we just had the takoyaki. We'll never know, I guess. More Kit Kats. Gold Crush Kit Kats. Sakura and roasted soybean powder Kit Kat. Strawberry shortcake Kit Kat. Chocolate orange. It's pretty standard, although more conventional, rather. I've never seen this anywhere else. I assume raspberry and strawberry and almond. I have no idea what this was. I doubt this was real sushi. Maybe it was. Scramble crossing during the day. Again, the photos don't do it justice because there's no movement, but it was very chaotic. Strawberry dessert thing. Strawberry mochi. Tokyo Station, where we went for... we were looking for a stamp here specifically. Because throughout Japan, in all the... or most, I think all the train stations and subway stations, they have a stamp you can collect. If you have a small booklet, you can just collect actual stamps from each station, which Anna kind of got into. And we didn't have, or she didn't have, the Shibuya Station one yet. And this is already at the airport the next day. Tokyo Airport. With the most inviting gate waiting room area. She spent our last cash on this because what else are you gonna do with 5,000 yen left over in cash? And of course we had to get some onigiri for the travels. Mine got a bit squished because you know, I put my backpack under the seat as you're supposed to do, but we switched seats, Anna and I, and I assume she didn't know that my onigiri was still in my backpack, so she wasn't as careful as she could have been. Mine got a bit squashed, but still delicious. And yeah, this is the last series of photos from the aquarium. I forget, Shinagawa, it says on the sign. I'm going to kind of breeze through these. Funny crab. Funny eels. Terrible environment for sharp photos. These were kind of funny because they took like big gulps of sand and filtered them through their gills, or just spit everything out. Funny snail. Anna spent like half an hour just by this tank because she really likes shrimp. And these were especially striking. These were standing tables with aquariums in them. A cute crab with like claws and these fan things which it was using to like scoop food to its mouth parts. Pretty interesting. Some bioluminescent anemones or whatever. Jellyfish. Which are always very mesmerizing, even though I don't have a special interest for jellyfish, but they're very hard to stop looking at. Because it's hard to imagine something like this can even be alive. To be fair, I'm not sure if they are alive or if they're just, you know, I don't know if jellyfish are sentient. But they are pretty. And a bit ominous. Moon jellyfish. Very tiny jellyfish. They had like a series of tanks with, you know, increasingly mature jellyfish. All the way from the whatever they're called when they're like almost single cell creatures, which I'm not saying they are, but baby jellyfish. I wish I knew the words to look smart, but I don't. I'm pretty sure these were literally called upside down jellyfish. Dolphin show. There was this, you know, it wasn't a separate thing, but it was just one of the rooms in the aquarium which had a big dolphin basin with chairs, stands. And we sat there for a bit just to rest, thinking if we would want to wait until the actual show, because there were a few different things. There were like the dolphin show and turtle feeding moment or whatever. I don't remember. But yeah, then we left to go and see this educational show about penguins in Japanese. So not a single word was understood, but it was cute. This one was feeling very shy. And then he got a bit more confident. I think it's the same one. Not 100% sure. Leopard shark. Garden eels. Which were, I'd say, the highlight of the, the whole aquarium. the smallest highlight for sure. Apologies for the cursor. Pretty fish. I want to say black tip reef sharks. Leopard shark again. Again, leopard shark. Scorpion fish, I want to say. Little hermit crab thing. Lobster kind of thing. That's not really a lobster, but I forget the real name. Seahorses. I think these are nursing sharks. And then we heard the actual dolphin show started, so we just went back to hang out there for a minute. It was pretty impressive. I can't remember the last time I was at a dolphin show. A ray kind of thing. I don't know the specific name. Eating some squid leftovers. Manta ray. Kind of derpy ray. We tried at least 20 minutes to get a good photo with one of these. And this was not the one she wanted, even though I thought it was. Sawfish. She wanted one of these. Sawfish again. Sawfish again. They did also have one or two guitar fish, which are kind of cool, but you can't see them very well. Hermit crab. Again, Anna spent 15-20 minutes just by this small tank. She has a thing for crustaceans. Same with this. I think there was a peacock crab. Or no, peacock shrimp. Which looks like a boxing shrimp. I don't know if they're the same thing. Or if they're even called boxing shrimps. Macaroni penguins. A frog. A chameleon. Lizard. Some kind of tree snake. There was a small section with like more, jungle animals, reptiles, piranhas, turtles, a very sad big tortoise. I hope his habitat was still under construction, because there was nothing in it. It's very sad. A chameleon again. I want to say seal, but I don't think it's a seal specifically. An actual seal taking a nap. At some point, they opened the door and two staff came in. Came into the hallway with one or two of these just casually passing by. Moray eel. I'm not sure if it looks much bigger than it was, or if it was actually this big and I remember it smaller. It's kind of a cool photo. Again, that peacock shrimp. Big stingray. I want to say it was like a meter or so in diameter. Cute shark. And of course, souvenirs. She got one of these, like the Ray plushies. It's the same as the purple ones in the back. She wanted to get this, but we were already kind of struggling for space in our suitcases. Some bento box kind of things, lunch boxes with squid sausage. A few more random but pretty rays in the souvenir shop. And that seems to be the last one. Oh, my tailbone is kind of falling asleep. So yeah, I'd say that is going to be it for this video. I apologize it took so long to make. I kept postponing it because I knew it would take a while. I didn't know it would take this long, and I don't know how much I will be able to shorten it or how much I will want to shorten it, so it's possible this will end up being like a 2.5 or 3 hour video, which is fine, I think. I didn't really rely on my notes because none of them seemed very relevant. So yeah, I'm not gonna go through them just to go through them. It's all pretty generic stuff. Just general thoughts on Japan. But I don't think it's necessary to go through those. It was a very nice trip overall. Especially considering how relatively cheaply we were able to go there. So we weren't expecting to ever be able to go there. Definitely not in the next 10 years or so. But yeah, it was definitely a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Maybe we'll go back at some point if we ever have the money. Because we would probably like to go back there in the spring. But yeah, that definitely won't happen anytime soon. I should probably consider to stop talking. This was the last day in Japan, I'm pretty sure. So the next day was just getting up pretty early, but not super early. Quick breakfasts, then to the airport in Tokyo. No, there was another thing, because on the way to Japan, we transferred in Tokyo to go to Osaka by plane. But I think the day before we had to leave, I found out that we weren't leaving from Tokyo airport, but from Narita airport, which is like an hour and a half or so, maybe more, by train. So that was kind of an unpleasant surprise, but it wasn't a big deal. Like, I was just getting up a bit earlier and taking the right train, which was a bit confusing because we didn't know for sure if we would have to pay extra for that kind of train. But we didn't. We just took we used our Ikoka cards. No, we used our subway pass, I think. The 72-hour pass we got for Tokyo. We used that to get on the train. We just rode all the way to the terminus at Narita Airport. And there we had to pay the difference, which was a few hundred yen, I think. So not too bad. And then a 14-hour train to Zurich, Switzerland, where we flew, interestingly, over Alaska instead of just flying west over China and, Asia. We flew north and then north over Canada, Greenland, Norway, and then down to Zurich. It was kind of cool, even though we couldn't see anything because we were in the center seats, the middle aisle. And it's not like you would have been able to see anything even if we were at the window. But it was kind of cool because it's the closest I will ever get to Alaska, which has always intrigued me a bit as a state. I'm gonna try and stop talking because this is getting a bit ridiculously long for what I thought was going to be a 1-hour video. So yeah, thank you for hanging out, for listening to my not always super interesting travel stories. I hope you enjoyed this in any way, hopefully in a somewhat relaxed way. It's unlikely I will do many more of these in the future because we don't go on big trips like this very often at all. But if we do, and if you like these kind of videos, then do let me know and I can try to make a few more of them when there is the occasion. Yeah, as always, thank you for watching and for listening, and I will talk to you next time. Bye bye.